Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great Monday. We are here in Oxnard, where it is a little bit foggy, and it's about 57 degrees. 57 degrees. It's cold. My wife and kids are like, we need to go to Target and get like hoodies and things because they're like, it is cold. And this is one of the reasons why the Dallas Cowboys come to Oxnard is because of the weather. The weather here is definitely a lot cooler. It allows them to be able to get more practices in because if you were in Texas, you would need to practice inside the Star. You would not practice too much outside when it's like 95, 100 degrees. You don't get in as much work. My question, of course, on that is, does that working out in the cold, does that actually end up making you a little bit softer when it comes down to crunch time and so forth? I don't know. But, definitely you practice the way you play. And I guess if you're playing in some places where you have the heat, for example, if you are here in Oxnard and you are working out and you're working in the cooler temperatures, because I think the high I see this week is like 72 degrees. Fantastic weather for working out. But if you're always working out there, when you go to Cleveland and it's September, and it's a little bit humid and things like that at higher temperatures, does that hurt you? Well, you tell me. Be that as it may, we're here at Oxnard. Can't wait to get to practice this morning, see my brother from another mother, of course, Law Nason, see if the crowds are actually here or not here, get a gist of what we have going on. It's one thing to see a couple of clips here and there. It's another thing to see the whole totality of practice and the progression of it. From what I've seen thus far from training camp, from the clips and things like that, regardless of the lack of activity by the Joneses to get anything done, I'm actually at the point of, I think the Joneses are okay with the status quo and saying, we're just going to make everybody uncomfortable here. It would not surprise me if CeeDee Lamb does not get a contract and that they end up franchise tagging him next year. I will say that I believe that the Cowboys, and I don't know for sure, but I will say I think the Cowboys have used the franchise tag probably more than any team in history. You have to say more than any team in the last 10 years. They've used it 4 times, I believe, or is it 5 times? They used it twice on Dak. They used it on D-Law. They tried to use it a second time on D-Law, and he was like, oh, hell no, that ain't happening. They used it on Dalton Schultz. They used it on Tony Pollard. That's the way the Cowboys do business. The question will be is if they continue to do that, and just like the situation with Brandon Ayuk, it seems like the Brandon Ayuk situation is getting closer and closer to Brandon Ayuk possibly not being a San Francisco 49er. The question will be is, will he go to Washington and become a thorn in our side twice every season? These are questions we don't know. But now at least the NFL lawsuit has been overturned, where at the moment the NFL does not have to come up with that big chunk of cash, which could have been one of the reasons why it took so long before the Joneses, as Jerry says, I know more than most people do about the situation, that the Joneses holding off on doing the contracts and stuff because they wanted to have clarity with if they're going to have to put up $442 million. Another thing that's going to be interesting is, and this is something I'm going to say they've been working on for quite a bit, is facial recognition software that they will be able to scan everybody. And basically, if you got, I don't know, their end game for that is to make sure, I guess, if you've been banned from a stadium before, that you will not be able to get back in there. That facial recognition will definitely prevent them possibly from allowing you to get back in, or if the federal government will be able to use this to find out there's a warrant out for you. But I'm going to say that this technology has been the works for quite a while. I remember being in Santa Clara for a Super Bowl, and that was probably 2016, 2017. I can't remember. It was quite a while ago. But I remember because we ended up having media passes and having to go to the NFL's um, media pass location and things. And we had been in there, a week before, and we had to early because we were there, and we had to go back with some other people. And as soon as we walked in, they were like, "Hello, Tracy Holmes and Mark Holmes," and we're like, "Do we know you?" It's like, "No, we know you." Because they had the facial recognition where you didn't have to even get the ID because it was already registered. And so that was 7, 8 years ago. So I imagine what the technology must be like now. And I also remember where at another Super Bowl, where you could literally, where they basically everybody could turn in their cell phone pictures and stuff, and they could map out the whole pictures of everybody that's in there. And I literally found myself walking on the concourse. Now, granted, I was wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey, which made it a little easier to find me there at the Super Bowl because there weren't many of us that were, but be that as it may, this was many, many years ago. And this is where technology is changing everything because they're also going to be testing out um, basically a chip in the football to use that to help determine the exact location of where the ball is and should be spotted. And eventually, I would imagine that the sideline sticks will be gone as well because it'll be all technology. And this is where, you kind of wonder where you have a multi-billion-dollar business that's relying on a guy with a index card going between the football and the tip of the stick to see if there's any space in there. Technology will definitely change and evolve the game. So those are some of the things that you got to be aware of that are changing in football. But I can't wait to see the defensive line. I really want to see Mozzie Smith for myself. I've heard some good things from few people, but mostly people literally trashing someone. And I don't know if it's warranted or not. I like I said, a lot of people can see one thing and not understand what they're seeing. Because see, numbers, and I will say that I've been hard on Jordan Davis too, because Jordan Davis, and I'll say, look at, there's ways that you can denigrate somebody using the numbers and deceive people. And you can look at Jordan Davis's numbers and compare Mozzie Smith in comparison to the amount of snaps and things like that and say that their numbers are comparable. But people look and say, well, the numbers are still really bad. But if you don't know the subtleties of football, and there are a lot of subtleties that most people don't understand. Forgive me, I'm not set up on my computer yet because we got here yesterday and I just have not set everything up, and I will. I'll get it set up so tomorrow I'll be in better shape, and tonight for our live stream, I'll have it together. Although the time change is crazy, so it's 10 o'clock at home, but it's only 7 o'clock here. So I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do everything at the right time on the East Coast. But the thing with Mozzie Smith is you have to understand you're not seeing, as a nose tackle, a lot of people are thinking that he should be in there sacking the quarterback, constantly, that he should be getting every tackle and stuff, and that the running back is not getting tackled by him and things. And if Mozzie is doing his job, you're not going to see any of that. People say, oh, he's a run stopper. But the thing is the defense is designed for the linebackers to make the tackles. That's why you see a Bobby Wagner with like 170 tackles and things. If the front line is taking care of their gap, of their assignment, not allowing the guards, taking on the double teams so the guard can't hit the linebacker is free to roam, to fill, to scrape, and make the tackles with force going backwards. You'll see a guy like a Demario Davis, when he's unmolested, he's seeing the whole field because that guard's not right there in his face. He's not having to shed that block. He sees where that hole is coming. He's there to fill it. The defensive tackle is not going to be from the A gap over here and making the tackle over on that side. He is clogging the middle, and that's it. So when somebody says, oh, well, he's on the ground, yeah, because when you're getting a double team, when you're engaged with the center, you got your hands on there, and now this guard is hitting you in the hip, trying to drive you out of the hole. What you're doing is you're collapsing the body to get your knee, get your foot planted in the ground to take on that move. So that way that hole does not develop. And so when you hear somebody say, I see him on the ground all the time, probably because he's taking on a double team and he's dropping the anchor. So I look forward to seeing that. There's some guys that we have to worry about, like Deuce Vaughn has been injured with the hamstring, which is a guy who definitely needs to get on the field. And this is where you start to worry about our running game. Zeke is, of course, happy as can be and motivated, but the question will be is how much does he actually have in the tank? And the Cowboys, I would imagine, are evaluating all of the players right now and chopping, licking their chops on the 27th of August when cuts are made, because that's when they'll go through and they'll pick up some veterans and things in there. The thing that bothered me last year is, and this is the biggest problem with the Cowboys are more reactive than proactive. And this is key. Instead of looking to see where you may have a problem and trying to fix it before it could be a problem, they more or less wait until there is a problem and then try and fix it. See, last year when Overshown went down, last preseason of the season, that's when everybody was cutting everybody out there. That would have been an opportunity to say, let's get the best linebacker out there that's been cut and bring him on the roster. Overshown's gone. Yes, we have Van Der Esch and a couple of other guys and things like that. But since we lost that guy that we were depending on, let's try and fill that hole in now, right? And make sure that there's a backup plan. They don't do that. The Cowboys are so good at amassing great talent. Dak, Zeke, Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, an emerging Jake Ferguson, getting a Zach Martin and getting a Tyler Smith. They find great talent. The thing is, they rely on that great talent alone and not realizing that if you have a weakness, it's like a scab that they're going to pick and make you bleed. The Cowboys' weakness, couldn't run the football when it came to crunch time and playoffs. It's not been a secret. It's happened to us every single time in the playoffs over the last 3 years. Look at the numbers. You can blame Dak, and it's not, and I'm not going to say Dak has been fantastic in the playoffs, but see, you need to click on all cylinders. When you're getting 2.5 yards a run by your running back in the playoffs and become one-dimensional, and teams know that I can pin my ears back and come back to the quarterback, that I can double team your number one wide receivers and things and make you throw into tight windows, yeah, mistakes are going to happen. You're going to go ahead, I get it, y'all go ahead and say, you're just making excuses for Dak Prescott. I'm making excuses or giving you the reasons why you fail in the playoffs. And this is where the Cowboys should be proactive and say, we cannot rely just solely on our great stars. If we lose one of those, we lose like 10% of our greatness. Every time we do. Every time we lose a Tyron Smith, you end up taking a big hit on your offensive line. Every time a Zeke Elliott would get a hyperextended knee, you lose, boom, 10% right there, boom. And you can't withstand all of these shots without having something to replenish it. And it's not always just the big stars and the name guys that win it for you. It's that next man up that has to play that big role. That's the difference of being able to make the playoffs and win in the playoffs. And that, my friends, is my biggest beef with the Dallas Cowboys. But I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. A little bit chilly. I'll be honest with you. My kids might need to get me a hoodie too, because it's chilly out here. But I'll take this over the heat, because you can always put more clothes on. It's hard to take more clothes off, because you can only take off so much before you get arrested for indecency. All right, you good people. I'll see you guys tonight. I guess 9 o'clock Eastern. We'll still be on then. Yeah, so that'll be 6 o'clock here, which will be dinner time. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. As always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and things, and I'll see you guys in practice. We'll see how the Wi-Fi works. Oh, excuse me, the internet. But I believe the Cowboys end up having like a, that they just zap the Wi-Fi and everything else over there, so that way you can't do dick while you're there. Right, Joe Boo? All right. See you at camp.